3, 2, 1. Dance, fools. This thing on. Strobe lights. Where are you?
Where did you get those?
Where are you?
I'm in a Seth Lord's cave.
Oh man, that looks like a Sith Lord's discotheque.
That's a Seth. No, it's a Seth Lord. Okay, thank you.
Seth Lord. Boys and girls, welcome
May the Chad be with you.
Welcome to another edition of Better Than Broadway. I am Chef Ryan, and I am here with two of my dear friends. As always, we're here with Justin, and please welcome our four-time guest host, Coach Tom Sroka. How you doing, fella?
What's up, guys? How you doing?
What's up, Gam? How you doing?
Having a good time. All right.
On the Sroka train.
Yes. Once again, I am Chef Ryan, and we are here having a good time. You can tell by the sunglasses I'm wearing.
And my pop collar.
You got your popped collar. It's very nice. Looks very good.
I was just going to say, your shirt just like unbuttoned magically.
And we got Indiana Sroka over here.
Indiana Sroka, the Indie God. I love it.
About that. I probably know the least about the Indies out of everybody here right now. So,
have you ever been to Indianapolis?
I have been to Indianapolis.
Well, then we can call you the Indie God.
All right, there you go.
That's how wrestling works.
You have a distinct advantage over us in Midwest cities.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I've only been to Bloomington and Chicago, and maybe St. Joe, Missouri.
You've been to Detroit? Weren't you in Detroit for Nationals?
Yes, been to Detroit for Nationals a couple of years.
You hit the basics. The only one you're really missing is Milwaukee. Everything else sucks.
Milwaukee. Hey, am I the only one that thinks that that Wyoming is a government scam and it doesn't actually exist?
Possibly. They got
Have you guys ever been to Wyoming?
I've never been to Wyoming.
I'm actually going to Wyoming next month. At the end of this month, going to Wyoming.
We'll never see you again. It's a government project. You're not going to come back. It's like the 13th floor. Do you know anybody that is?
Both me and my younger brother got recruited by Wyotech, which is a technical college out there that has a football team.
Yeah, but it's never been confirmed that that's where they're at. I'm telling you, it's a conspiracy.
That's fair. I like I said, I took one phone call and never called the other guy back.
See, they're paying people to do that shit just to like indoctrinate you into thinking that it's a thing. In reality, that's where the fucking matrix is held, man.
Probably. That makes sense. That tracks.
Yeah. It's science.
Guys, we got a lot to talk about. We went on hiatus last week, and we needed it. Everybody needed to recharge and rest and take care of some family stuff, take care of some work stuff.
Apparently, Ryan still needs a recharge.
Back.
Yeah, Ryan's got some personal stuff he's dealing with. We send good vibes to him.
I'm right here, guys. It's what it says on my name tag there.
Oh, wait, you're not Ryan. Ryan can't grow a beard.
Ha ha! Fooled you again, sir. It's his eye, Coach Rob.
Damn.
In a clever disguise.
Are those your daughters?
You and Superman, I tell you what. Well, they're not his daughters anymore because he stretched the shit out.
Oh yeah, he stretched. Yeah, those things were fighting for dear life on his head.
These are toast, man. I'm gonna have to tighten the screws, but no, I thought I would catch you guys off guard with the nameplate and the sunglasses, but
you can't get one past us there, buddy.
Dustin, man, I'm telling you, nothing gets past you, sir.
About as sharp as
the show, and you finally realized it was me.
I'm as sharp as an eraser.
Wait, who are you?
Huh?
Where'd Justin go? Jason?
I'm Clark.
Jason,
yes,
you're
Jason.
back?
Yeah, Jason. Yeah.
Fantastic.
You remember that? See, longtime listeners of the show will understand that reference and the continuity there. So
you shaved off. So Justin shaved off his beard and said that he was Jason, Justin's twin brother, for like 20 minutes. And after that, he just finally gave up.
No, it was a whole show, man. And then at the very end, Ryan caught me as like, yeah. So Justin, I'm like, yeah. I'm like, oh wait, no.
Poor Tom, you didn't realize what you got yourself into tonight.
Hey, you know what? I'm here for it, bud.
Crocodile Tom D.
Lord of mercy. We're talking about. We're not going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about 8 nights ago at the Night of Champions, WWE's premier premium live event from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia.
Real quick, when did they start doing these on Saturdays? Like, I'm not mad about it. I appreciate it, actually.
They go back and forth, right? Like,
so some of the shows they're doing on Saturday during sports seasons, especially during football season, they tried it out with SummerSlam because like, oh man, we're losing viewership to big football games. So they started trying out these Saturdays. And now that there's, I don't know, 700, wrestling outfits, they had to do something because you had Double or Nothing, which was on Sunday. You had this one on Saturday. You had NXT on Sunday. You had Impact on Friday. And you had a New Japan show Saturday morning early, I believe.
Yeah.
So there was a lot going on. And it's just like, holy shit, we need to like make sure that we've got our market share.
You'll see that a lot. You'll see that a lot on like long weekends, like Memorial Day and Labor Day and stuff like that. More too, because you'll see them kind of spread it out. Because they don't realistically, even with the ego of WWE, they don't want to have any competition that they don't have to have. And I just think that's.
I mean, for school nights, like I greatly appreciate watching a 4-hour show on Saturday
for sure.
Versus Sunday, because I usually don't get it right on time. So I've got to I'm usually like an hour or two behind. And if it's a 4-hour show, it's like 10, 11 o'clock my time before I'm finished with it, then going to get ready for bed. So I'm not mad about it. I was just curious. I noticed the past few have been on Saturdays and I was like, I'm going to ask the boys about this.
I mean, it could be a Triple H
rules last year. I think it was Extreme Rules last year when they started doing Saturdays.
Yeah.
I've also, obviously this one being in Saudi Arabia too, or whatever, it's a day show. So they do it, during the day. And I think that helps too. Because you can kind of, and I actually ended up not watching it until later that evening because we had a bunch of stuff going on, but good weekend, good overall show. Rob, what would you, if you had to give an overall grade for this? I know we weren't really planning. It's not really like our gimmick, but if you had to give an overall grade for the overall pay-per-view, what would you give it? Like A, B, C, yeah, what?
Night of Champions was no doubt an A+.
Really?
Everything about that show worked. It just seems to me like Triple H is just getting better and better and better as time goes on. We'll go ahead and just hit a few matches because we got a lot to cover tonight. But we do have a new Raw Women's Champion in Asuka, finally dethroning the over-year reign of Bianca Belair. Bianca was a phenomenal champion. She pretty much beat everybody. I mean, she'd already beaten Asuka at WrestleMania, and a lot of people are saying that it was good to see that Triple H had righted the injustice that was WrestleMania with Asuka finally getting the win here. Asuka's up in the KOD. She spits the mist into her hand, rubs it in Bianca's face, and takes her out for the win. Tom, big title change here. How you feel?
I'm not gonna lie, that was the only match of the card that made me do the dog cock its head to the side when it happened, because I'm with everybody else. I thought that should have happened at Mania. For that reason, I gave Night of Champions an A-, just because that match in particular I felt like should have happened that way at WrestleMania and not at that show. But overall the show was great. I just, like I said, it was just a weird spot for that title change, I thought. Because I didn't watch the Raw or the SmackDown leading up to it, so until that morning when I looked up the card, I didn't even know that title was on the line. And now my question to you is, are they both on SmackDown? Have they switched the titles yet? Because I'm pretty sure
Asuka and Bianca are on SmackDown, and Asuka now holds the Raw title.
Right.
Rhea Ripley is on Raw holding the SmackDown title. So hopefully in the next week or two, or maybe even the next PLE, they're going to switch those titles the way they did with Charlotte and
that's what I'm hoping. I was just I was just kind of curious, because I'm I really hope we don't do this whole it doesn't matter what brand you're on, just hold your title. I was because the draft was completely pointless.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's still a point of contention for me, but that's a whole nother subject. That's interesting that you think it. So, Rob, let me ask you a deeper question. Then, do you
Please.
think that Night of Champions was better than Backlash?
Yes.
Yes. The
Yeah.
only reason and listen, we talked about this. The only reason that Backlash was as good as it was is because
Puerto
of the
Rico.
crowd.
Yeah.
The crowd,
Yes.
the Puerto Rican crowd was white hot.
But let's give it away to the Saudi Arabia crowd, because that, I'll tell you what, that venue and the way that they do it over there, say what you want to about how, you know, the way it has been and I'm going to go ahead and say that this is probably the best Saudi Arabia show that they've had yet.
Agreed.
I would agree.
Agreed.
And I think that just the spectacle alone, it felt bigger than WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I mean, you had what was it, 80,000 people in there or something like that? That gigantic arena. That arena is gorgeous, and just the stadium, the backdrop that they did, it felt like a WrestleMania, and I think that probably helped it a lot too. And the fans were, you know, were great. You know, it's hard for me though, because I enjoyed Night of Champions. I feel like there were some cooler moments, and I feel like there were some low points at Night of Champions. Like the Cody Brock thing or whatever, or
and I do want to touch on that also.
Yeah. But I will say that I do think it's the best Saudi Arabia show, and I think that it's actually the first time I have watched a pay-per-view and then subsequently also of WWE, and then also watched a pay-per-view of AEW and actually enjoyed watching the pay-per-view product. I'm sorry, premium live event product from WWE as opposed to AEW. I almost always like the AEW pay-per-views and more entertained than WWE. So that was a first.
Well, I definitely, when we get to that, I want you to lead that part of the conversation, because I only saw bits and pieces, admittedly, of Double or Nothing. But I want to get into this next match, a very important match. Started out the show, it was Seth freaking Rollins, and the phenomenal AJ Styles for the newly minted WWE World Championship. This is a new legacy title. It is a world championship. It kind of goes back to the days of the big gold belt in 2002 when Triple H was awarded the world title by Eric Bischoff. But I think this is really important. Seth Rollins was the first NXT champion. He was in the first match for the first NXT championship. He was in the first match for the Universal Championship, where Finn Balor eventually won that match at a SummerSlam in 2015 or 14. And now he's in another inaugural championship match, winning against one of the best generational talents we've ever had in AJ Styles. Tom, please, your thoughts.
It was a great match.
Head to toe.
Yeah, the start to finish, I loved it. I love that belt, honestly. Of all the belts out, like honestly, like I like the AEW belt for the same reason I like this belt. Like I just like that big, bold presentation. I was laughing.
Does it look melted? I agree with you guys. I do like the belt, but just something that keeps them. Does it look like it's melted a little bit?
I feel like from afar, you like the details. Like I feel like the details are they leave a little bit to be desired from afar. But like when you zoom in on it, you can see all the intricacies of it. It definitely so I was at the Raw that it was revealed.
Nice.
And from the crowd, like it didn't look that great. Like until I think Seth came out to do his promo or with Omos after, and then they zoomed in on the belt and we could see it on the Jumbotron. Then you got a good look at it and you're like, oh, that belt looks awesome. But like when they first like unveiled it and they were like filming it from the ring, like it didn't look that great. I also was laughing at all the memes about how Triple H just made it easier to put the NWO logo on that belt than before. With the spray paint, because the big W in the middle, all you got to do is just spray the N and the O on the outsides and you're good to go. So I appreciated that. But no, that was a good match. I think it was like obviously like you take it with a grain of salt. I think Meltzer had it as the second highest rated match of the night on the card. But I always, anytime you get AJ and Seth you're in for a good show. And so I thought it was a good match start to finish. I think Seth was the right call in having that title. I honestly wouldn't even mind them running that back and doing a program personally at some point for the title. But yeah, it was awesome. That was a good way to start the show.
Yeah, I agree. Sadly, the phenomenal AJ Styles and the OC with Michin, Mia Yim are on SmackDown, and they can't cross over, even though the very next night we had AJ and Seth in a tag team, a one night only tag team. But yeah, just taking a shit on the draft that is absolutely.
Can they coexist?
Can they coexist? Unbelievable. Justin, any thoughts on the match before we move on to our next match with Cody and Brock?
Man, it was a solid match. I mean, but I really didn't expect anything less. I almost want to say that I was underwhelmed, and I only say that because it's fucking AJ Styles and Seth Rollins. Like, how are they not going to put on a good match? I think the match was phenomenal, no pun intended. I think the only thing is I feel like I've seen that match a bunch of times, and I've seen it on SmackDown. I've seen it on Raw. I've seen it on television. And it was I keep saying phenomenal. It was a great match. I just I feel like they could have picked two people to be fresher. And I think just what they did is that, they're in this mode of like, all right, well, we just need to put the belt on Seth. Because that's the route that we're going, and who's going to put on a good match with him? Well, obviously AJ Styles. I feel like it's just plug and play. As far as like from a storyline standpoint. But the match itself was absolutely fantastic.
Love it. Well, guys, we have Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, and Brock Lesnar part 2 in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Before we do that, let's wind the clocks back to the late 70s. Dusty Rhodes battling the Four Horsemen and Terry Funk in Florida. Tom knows where I'm going with this. I can see it in his eyes already. In the 70s, Dusty Rhodes had his arm broken by the Four Horsemen and Terry Funk. Not only once, but twice. And it got to the point where Arn Anderson said in an interview that he thought that he feared for his life in Florida in the era of kayfabe, that the fans were going to have him murdered for breaking the beloved Dusty Rhodes' arm in Florida wrestling. Now, you fast forward 35, 30-ish, 40-ish years later, Brock Lesnar breaks Cody Rhodes' arm on a Raw right before Night of Champions. Cody wrestles in a sleeve, gets put in a was a Kimura armbar, twice, and just passes out. After 4 minutes of being in an armbar, he finally just passes out. Brock wins by referee stoppage. It's hard times, baby. It's hard times. Coach Tom, please talk about some hard times, baby.
Did I post it in the group chat, or was it? I have two group chats that I'm in that we talk wrestling, and I was watching it, the Monday Night Raw, and as soon as they broke his arm, I like messaged in one of the group chats I'm in, and I said they're gonna run back Dusty's hard times up until next year's WrestleMania. Like
absolutely,
as soon as it happened and I saw that, I was just like, nope, this is what they're doing. Like, I'm here for it. I mean, I told you guys, like, I was over Cody the last time I was on here, and now I'm back. Like, I want to see the whole, like, 'cause I love Dusty.
Good, God damn it. Let's take a moment. Round of applause. Thank you. Because
I love Dusty. Triple H has done, like, between what he's done in NXT with his storytelling and what they're doing right now, like, I have full faith that they're going to do it justice, and I want to see where it goes.
You have no idea how distraught I was, because Tom, you and I are almost mirror images as far as like what we like and don't like when it comes to wrestling and things like that. And that completely threw me for a loop when you said that. And I felt like, I'm like, he just needs to give it more time or something.
Exactly. I mean, like, I was willing to admit that. I was just like, in that current time, I was like, all right, we're done with this. But as soon as I was watching, I don't watch Raw or SmackDown too much anymore. I'll just watch like the highlights, and for some reason I had it on, And I just watched the whole Kimura, and they're like, "Oh my god, he broke his arm," and I'm like, "Oh, they're running back hard times." I was like, "I can't wait." I'm like, "You suckered me back in, god damn it."
Yep.
I'm
Absolutely.
super excited myself. You know, I don't know where they're gonna go with this, but obviously it's making me want to get on the network and go watch all the old Florida matches with Dusty in his lead up to the title. Because I think it took him another 8 or 9 months before he finally dethroned Flair for the title, or Funk, or whoever it was for the title. So it was Flair. So yeah, I mean, the bloodline, as we know, is the most compelling story in wrestling right now, and there's no question. I mean, MJF is great and how he's doing things, and this thing with Don Callis and Kenny Omega, this is all going to work out great. But right now, WWE has the most compelling and convincing storylines with both the bloodline and Cody, and it's great that you've got them on 2 separate brands now, because now they can kind of go and do what they need to do, and when it's Cody's time, it's Cody's time. But you know, does Roman hold this title for another year? It almost seems that way. Does Jay defeat him for the title? We don't really know. But what we do know, segue, is that at Night of Champions, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens successfully defend their titles against the Bloodline in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Another fantastic, compelling side angle to this story is that for the first time since 2018, Kevin Owens is wrestling a match in Saudi Arabia. And for the first time ever, Sami Zayn is wrestling a match in Saudi Arabia. Relations between Syria and Saudi Arabia have gotten better. The diplomacy is working, and it allowed the Canadian-born Syrian his opportunity to come and work a match. And my God, the reaction this guy got from the fans, from the crowd. If they had lost those titles, there would have been riots.
Yes.
I haven't gotten chills from an entrance like that since Cody Rhodes' Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
I think that's the last time I got chills from an entrance like that. And
I'm
then when he grabbed the
dude.
mic and he started, you know, talking in Arabic, like it seemed like, and I was watching it with some friends of mine, and they didn't really know what was going on, and I had to kind of describe and explain the political you know, elements behind it, and what had been going on with the countries, and you know, all this other kind of stuff, and really kind of explain like this is a monumental thing.
Yeah.
Like this isn't like some small little gimmick thing or whatever. Sami Zayn being there and having a mic and getting the reception that he got, and then winning just what is it, just weeks prior to like this, you know, the relations, you know, I guess becoming better, we'll just say. It's something that, like, it's, dare I say it, like historic. And I don't think that it got the spotlight that it should have. I think this should have been mainstream news.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I guess just maybe because, since, you know, we're not there, America doesn't give a shit. I don't know. But like, I felt like it was important. It felt really important.
I agree. Well, we as we know, Sami Zayn gets the pin over Solo after a Luva kick, but he had a little bit of help, didn't he? Had a little bit of help.
Yes.
The Usos show up to help Roman take care of KO. They get in the ring. They take care of Sammy. Sammy gets up. He ducks a kick. Solo gets double kicked in the face by the Usos. Roman goes batshit. Jimmy gets smashed in the face. And finally, Jimmy kicks Roman square in the jaw, puts him down. He powders out. And then Sammy takes advantage, gets his Aluva kick, gets his 1-2-3 pin. That's going to lead us to Friday night on SmackDown, but we will get back to that later, because we need to talk about this new championship title that Triple H presented to Roman on Friday Night SmackDown for 1,000 days as champion, moving into the 4th position all time as longest reigning champion, upstaging Pedro Morales. He's only got 3 guys left that he's got to come close to. He's got Bob Backlund, he's got Hulk, and he's got Bruno Sammartino. Now, he would have to hold that title until either 2028 or 2029's Backlash to break Bruno's record, which I can't imagine do such a thing. But this is a tremendous accomplishment. Hulk is at, I think, just over 1,200 days.
Yeah, I guarantee you, like after that, they'll let him. They'll wait till he breaks Hulk or something like that. But yeah, they don't. I do not see him holding on to it to break Bruno's record.
No, because it's over 5,000 days.
Yeah, that just wouldn't make sense. I think at that point they would just kind of like, it's kind of like how USAW just changes the weight classes. Like let's get a new record. We're gonna change the weight class, which is what they did with the belt too.
I'm actually gonna look this up right now just to make sure that I have.
Well, the only reason I was asking because I know for the longest time I always thought it was interesting when Punk had his long reign. Because they were always talking about like in the modern era every time they talked about Punk's record, and they haven't been talking about the modern era at all when they've been talking about Roman's record. They've just been talking about like one of the all-time best runs kind of a deal. So that's why I was curious like where everybody stood, but like I don't see a way for them to feasibly, like I could see separate reigns, but like I don't know if that counts either. Like if Bruno's like 5,000 days or whatever was all just one reign, or if it was all his reigns, or what the deal is. But I just don't see a way for them to feasibly be able to do that without just completely alienating their fan base.
Yeah. All right, you ready? You ready for this real quick?
Let's hear it.
Okay. Bruno Sammartino has the longest reign in WWEF history at 2,803 days. That's 8 years, from May 17th, 63 to January 1871, where Ivan Koloff defeated him for the title. Then you've got Bob Backlund, who held the title for, his reign would have been 2,135 days, from 78 until sometime in 80 when the Sheik beat him. 83, and the Sheik held it for 28 days. Then Hulk Hogan comes along at Madison Square Garden and defeats the Sheik on January 23rd, 1984, and he'll hold that title for 1,474 days until Andre the Giant defeats him February 5th, 1988, the main event in Indianapolis, Indiana. He then gives the title to Ted DiBiase, who then they call it vacant, but that's neither here nor there. So he's got at least another year and a couple of months, so probably Money in the Bank next year to beat Hogan. I don't see that happening. Backlund he ain't gonna touch, and then Bruno he ain't gonna touch, because that's
with the new title. With the new title, I can almost see that happening. Actually, not Bruno, but
no, I don't know, because like they're already starting to like tease the bloodline imploding. I just don't know how, like, I don't know how, like, unless they find a way to bring them all back together for like another run, kind of like what they did with the Shield before, when they did like their second run where they like teased them coming back together for a couple months and then it actually happened. Like, I just don't see how he'd make it to Hogan's record unless they found a way to bring all 4 of those guys back together.
Well, I think what they're trying to do is they're posing Roman Reigns to come as like a mega babyface heel. So I think, which he can do now, I think, as over as he is as a heel. I said face, babyface. Did I say babyface heel?
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. So I'm sorry. I caught myself. But yeah, so I think they're trying to do that. And I'm sure they're probably going to do it with him being betrayed and screwed over by, Jimmy or Jay or Sokoa or one of them or all of them. And then, somehow in a match, maybe not, I hate to put it in the perspective like that, but like, Rock versus Hogan, where someone, they come out of that, not being the heel anymore. I feel like at least that's what I'm hearing that they're going to do. Yeah. I think that would give him more mileage as a champ if they did that. I think it would be fresh. They're gonna have to do something pretty soon, either take the title off of them or turn them to face or something like that.
Something
for sure. But yeah, that might give them a little more mileage.
Something. So
what are the
see how things go ahead, Tom?
I was gonna say, what are the odds that we see The Rock and Roman at Mania or even SummerSlam for the whole head of the table thing?
It's looking really good at Mania.
I don't like it. I think when they're filming the part 1 and 2 of the final chapter of the Fast and the Furious movies, and The Rock's going to be in those, I don't know, dude. I just don't feel like he's going to have the time for this. It'd be great. It'd be fun.
Well, from what I understand, that's the reason why he wasn't in this one, right? Because but I think all those are filmed now. They filmed that like all.
They filmed the first part. They haven't filmed the start of the second.
Well, the first part's out. I saw it, but I'm
yeah.
pretty sure that the other 2 were filmed and they just haven't released it. Kind of like how they did with the
Harry
second
Potter
trilogy. Well, Harry Potter movies and the second trilogy of the Star Wars.
Gotcha.
Okay. They filmed, or Twilight for that matter. The Twilight, the last one, I don't remember what it was, but they had like a something part 1 and part 2. They filmed it as one movie and then released it. I could be wrong, but I think that's kind of what they did, which would explain why he couldn't do WrestleMania this year. But I don't know. All signs are pointing to The Rock next year in some capacity, and I think WrestleMania makes more sense than SummerSlam.
Well, I'm sure we will know something in January, by the end of January, because the Royal Rumble will be here before we know it. I mean, hell, SummerSlam, Money in the Bank is coming up, which is going to be a great show. I'm looking forward to that one myself from London, England. But we'll talk about that on another episode. Justin, if you would please walk us through AEW's Double or Nothing. The Devil once again gets his due in a fatal 4-way match. Gotta love MJF, Darby Allin, Jungle Boy, Jack Perry, and Sammy Guevara, the future father, Sammy Guevara. Congratulations, Sammy and Tay. But Justin, please take it away.
Yeah, so the Devil gets his due yet again in a highlight and potentially maybe match of the year at the end of Double or Nothing, but otherwise a fairly lackluster card by AEW standards. Still a good card, still a solid card, but like I said earlier, it's probably one of the less entertaining ones that I watched. I did get a chance to pick up the premium live event, the pay-per-view. I did not watch the buy-in, so I don't know if anybody else watched the buy-in with the Hardys and Hook and all that kind of stuff. I know that I believe the Hardys beat Page and the Guns or whatever. It starts out with the 20-man, or I'm sorry, the 21-man Blackjack Royale. And this was one of those ones where like a lot of stuff happened in it. It was pretty cool. There's some cool spots. Swerve was really good in it at the end. They booked Big Bill. They booked Big Bill very, very strong. I just don't know what they're doing with him. I feel like they're going to fumble him, and that's what I'm worried about. And AEW's done that so much now, is they
always fumble big guys
that could be there. But there were a couple cool spots with White and Starks. So that was kind of cool. He got his up and comings with them with the kind of few that they've been going on with. And then Cassidy won. And I mean, at this point, Cassidy's like a fucking millennial slacker John Cena with his record, right? Like he's over. I love him to death. There's not too much to say about the match. It was an okay match for Battle Royal, but there wasn't any really thing that stuck out to me. The Adam Cole and Chris Jericho match, that was unsanctioned, that they had to sign the paperwork for. they had to do a signing for the unsanctioned match, which I guess was just them saying, hey, that you can't, you're writing off your liability here, right? You're not covered in our insurance. But realistically, it should have been Sabu that had to write off it, because Sabu was kind of the one that made that. Man,
who the hell thought that was a good idea to bring Sabu back into the wrestling?
I don't know. I guess, the poor guy needs a payday. And he's a legend and he's crazy. And what's so funny is that you see him walk and he just looked like he's crippled and he can't do anything. The next thing you know, he's doing top ropes off to a table onto the freaking mat.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
you know, it's crazy. Like, I don't, but you know what? You can tell the guy loves wrestling. He wants to be there. I'm sure he needs the money with all the health problems that he's been with. So, you know, it's a good payday for him. It doesn't seem like he was beat up or broken too bad from that any more than he already is. So, you know, it was a good spot. It was kind of a, you know, a feel good moment. It was definitely a WTF moment. You know, it was like he's not going to do that. He's not going. Oh, he did it. Okay, yeah. So, it ended with Cole basically just beat the shit out of Jericho till they stopped. They kind of did it Blackpool Combat Club style. He just couldn't defend himself, which is getting kind of like mixed reviews. You know, Tom, do you like those in wrestling the just the disqualification from not being able to defend yourself kind of stuff? No.
This isn't UFC.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. So it kind of feels
pin him, submit him, or knock him out. Like, but none of this, like, they can't defend themselves. Like the Cody Rhodes thing, like the ref stoppage. I get it. But yeah, I saw
if it's done right. If it's done right.
If it's done right, but I feel like just like, yeah, I don't know. I'll be honest with you, Jericho's starting to lose a little bit of his gusto with me. I feel like he's pushing just a little too hard to try to have like these great programs after programs after programs. And I don't know, his last few like matches, I've because I like Jericho. I always have. I've read, you know, his 2 biographies, I listened to his podcast, but like his last like 2 or 3 matches, I've kind of like finished watching them and I'm like, nah.
Yeah, it was an average match for me. Rob, what do you think though about this just the beat up thing? Because here's the thing, I understand why they did it, because it's the whole Cole, it's personal. You know, he messed with Britt. You know, he's a savage and this and that. But to me, they should have made it. It's an unsanctioned match. Like they should have made it no holds bar, and like so it doesn't matter. You can't defend yourself anymore. You know, just beat him to a bloody pulp and then make him tap out or something. You know, to make it. I mean, they're trying to make Cole look hard, but for me, I've always had trouble believing Cole, and I know it's petty, but it's just because of his body. He's got the charisma, he's got the moves in the ring. He's hard to believe as a killer.
You know, I think with his lack of musculature, if you want to call it that, the fact that he's a smaller dude, the fact that he has been a world champion everywhere he has been, the fact that, you know, he said it best, the way for him to make him feel special is just to ring the bell when he did that promo against Karrion Kross and just made Karrion Kross about this big. I think with somebody like Adam Cole, you put him in opportunities like this to show that anybody can win, anybody has a puncher's chance. That's why we love Darby Allin. That's why we love Orange Cassidy. They're not these massive dudes. And I said something earlier. I said AEW has always fumbled big guys. Lance Archer, Powerhouse Hobbs, Wardlow to some degree, Miro, Big Bill. I mean, all these guys that are monsters,
Luchasaurus,
big dudes. Luchasaurus. It's like,
which we'll talk about in a minute, but
you're gonna take these smaller wrestlers and you're gonna have them win a lot more. And with Jericho, he's in the twilight of his career. That guy's in his 50s, and he is right now doing the favors for a lot of people. He helped establish MJF as a legitimate star. Darby Allin is a legitimate star.
He put over Orange Cassidy. Yeah.
Orange Cassidy, Adam Cole, you know, Action Andretti, all these guys that are not really big household names are going to be able to feed their families for generations because Chris Jericho saw something special in these guys. Hell, Jericho went to like an MCW show, or no, it was in Maryland, where Action Andretti was champion, some little Indian Maryland, and he said that kid's got potential. I want to work with him. And then Andretti in his first match in AEW pins clean Jericho on Dynamite, and he's kind of been, you know.
Well, remember what he did during the pandemic for Pineapple Pete.
But it's like,
This is
here
just
we
like
are,
a local
Pineapple
worker
Pete.
that he like. Pineapple Pete was the
Oh
best,
yeah,
man.
Pineapple Pete. Absolutely.
Which that's not even his name, but that's all anybody knows him by. But no, I mean, I get it. Like, look, no, everybody knows how much we love Jericho, but I do agree with Tom that as of late, he hasn't been quite as hot as he is. But you know what? That happens. Not everybody's always firing on 100 on all the cylinders 100% of the time. I thought it was a good match. I thought the idea and the promo and the way that they did it was fine. And I don't even really so much blame Jericho. I just have a difficult time believing Cole needs to be the underdog like a Cassidy or a Darby, and they don't always book him as that. They book him as this killer, and he's just hard to believe as a killer. That's really my only gripe about the match. Like I said, it was a good match, but moving forward to another match that I think one of the better matches of the night for sure. But I mean, again, like, how can it not be? We've got, you know, the one remaining Briscoe, we've got FTR, we've got Jay Lethal, and we've got frickin' Double J Jeff Jarrett, right?
Ain't I
like,
great?
it was this was a match you can tell that Jarrett booked because of all the tomfoolery and fuckery going on in it. There's just always 1,000 little things to go around and go about. And he, I'll tell you what, you know, love or hate Jarrett. I've never like really been a huge fan of his, but that son of a bitch knows how to pander to a crowd. You know, that is the old school way. And, you know, the whole Mark Briscoe angle, I just love that they've got him in there. You know, I love the drama between him and there, you know, and at one point Mark was pushing, you know, Double J and everything else. And then ended up with basically Mark getting pissed off, and then they got him in the big rig, I think is what it's called. Isn't that their finisher? Shatter Machine. Right?
It's the big rig now in honor of Big Brody. It's the big rig now.
There you go. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So and they won, like I said, solid match, one of the better matches of the night. It's good to see FTR winning again and back on television because I just freaking love them. I don't know what the hell. That's another example of Tony, we'll say, almost fumbling somebody. You know, I don't know how you fumble them, but then again, it happened in WWE and it almost happened in AEW, but it's good to see that they're back. Now, moving on to the most pro wrestling match of the night. Tom, go ahead.
Real quick about the fumbling thing, because I was thinking about this too, because I forgot that FTR hadn't been on TV in a while, so I was watching that match. My question is this: in the modern age of wrestling, is it more that they get fumbled, or is it that promoters, bookers, whoever's in charge, they don't know what to do with a talent that doesn't have flash and is just like I feel like FTR is just one of those tag teams where they just hammer the basics, but they hammer them better than any other team out there. They're not going to do the crazy flips. They're not going to have sparks flying out of their shoes when they kick you in the face and all that stuff. They're just going to beat the shit.
I like the foreshadowing of that comment, Tom.
I can't stand those two. Anyways,
I know you can't.
But like, I'm just saying, like, if I were to like start a company and I wanted a tag team to like be the face of my company at the start of it, FTR is who I'm grabbing.
Yeah,
absolutely. Like, I would grab like FTR or DIY, like two tag teams like that. Like, that's who I would grab. And my question is, like, I feel like NXT and Hunter were when Hunter and Shawn Michaels were running NXT, they were the only ones that knew how to use them the right way. And so my question is it a lack of context and like being out of touch with the promoters, or is it just that their style doesn't fit in this era of wrestling? Like it's like kind of like a chicken before the chicken or the egg.
I don't think it's that, because AEW is the in-ring, you know, company, right? They're the company that thrives off the, you know, love them or hate them for the promos. They drop this long-term storytelling. You can argue that, you know, just a couple good stories here, there, whatever you want to say, but their in-ring talent and what they put on that product in the ring, it's really kind of second to none. Like, I agree. All the matches are probably amazing.
Booker.
No, I don't think he's a bad booker. I think he's stretched too thin, and I think that's what the problem is. Because when it first started and it only had one show and 2 hours to book and less talent to worry about, it was fun. It was absolutely fantastic. And it made me fall in wrestling. It made me fall in love with wrestling again. And like, it's brought me all the way here now. And so, I mean, he can't say that, but did he have more of the Young Bucks helping back then? Did he have more of Omega and Cody helping back then? I think Cody leaving left probably, or I think the EVPs losing their power, I think probably made more of an impact, no pun intended, on AEW than maybe people might think or have talked about. But to answer your question, Tom, I think with FTR, what it is, you just need to let them do themselves. You don't need to do anything with them, because they really are like an old school tag team. They love wrestling. They're going to figure out a gimmick. They're going to figure out a point, be it Dax or whoever talking about his daughter, beating cancer. I mean, simple stuff like that. You don't need to have tassels around your ankles anymore. And you don't need to do flips and shit to get on the highlight reel. And these guys know how to work time, and they know how to get you invested into a match without looking at like a car crash. And that's what's important. I think you got something like Blackpool Combat Club. They're doing fantastic with that. And that's what FTR is. That's the niche that they fit in. Rob?
When there are two types of wrestlers that have the best way of getting over with your crowd. You've got these flashy people like the Young Bucks and Darby who do the kicks and the dives and all this other shit. And then you've got these people who are just real people like FTR, like the Blackpool Comic. They're just real. You don't have to worry about the flash. You don't have to worry about charisma. It works because they're relatable, because they're just regular guys. They're just regular gals, and they make sense. With all that being said, congratulations to Chris Statlander for returning and winning the TBS championship from Jay Cargill.
We're going to get into that.
Run.
I want to talk about that. I want to talk about match, but I want to put a bow on this one real quick, and then I want to talk about Wardlow versus Cage first. So yeah, Tom, like I totally agree. They're fantastic. I think, MJF said it best in that work, shoot, whatever promo that he did. Somebody posted in our group. It's like, these people meaning us and just the fans in general, don't give a fuck about us.
Yeah.
And so stop putting your body in and like that. When you look at MJF, even though he's a young kid, when you look at FTR, I see Midnight Express. I see all the old school wrestlers. I see Arn and and the Enforcers or the Brain Busters. I see these guys. And I think that those basic, what made wrestling work 30, 40 years ago still works now, right? It's just in 4K. And that's my opinion. I think kids can still gravitate towards realism. And I think anytime something feels more real, it's better when it comes to sports entertainment. But speaking of sports entertainment and pro wrestling, let's move on to the ridiculous match of Wardlow versus Christian Cage. The only thing that I have to really say about this match is, first of all, my girlfriend's in love with Wardlow, just like everybody else's is. Every single time he comes on, that's her boyfriend. Wardlow won, but I think probably the most pro wrestling thing that happened over the weekend is Arn. And I want to let's do a little scenario. Let's say that you're at Thanksgiving, right? And you're talking to your grandmother, and you have to explain the happenings in this match to her, someone who's never heard of wrestling or any type of sports entertainment or anything at all. And you're just talking to her and you're having to explain to her, yeah, so this guy that's like in his mid 60s that used to wrestle, but now he just kind of stands outside of the corner. He got into the ring because this other guy got into the ring that's a dinosaur, but he's not a dinosaur, but he thinks he's a dinosaur, but everybody acts like he's a dinosaur. And so he was going to beat up the other guy that was fighting, but these guys aren't fighting. And he was going to grab him by his throat and slam him, but he couldn't do it because the 65-year-old man bit the dinosaur's thumb off. Can you imagine having to fucking explain that to your grandmother, Tom? Like, if that's not
Like,
the most ridiculous pro wrestling thing,
I'm not gonna lie to you. I had to go back and watch it after you guys were talking about it in the group chat because there's no way they did that on TV. Like
it
I
was
was like,
obviously a blood capsule. I mean, it was just all over the place. It was so
no,
over the
I
top.
know.
But you know what? Damn it, I'm here for it. I enjoyed it. It was one of the highlights of the night for me. That's all I got to say about that, like Forrest Gump. Let's move on to
Isn't this the same guy who stabbed Sid Vicious with a pair of scissors? Like, come on.
well, and took out his Glock and is talking about shooting people. Like, God bless Arn Anderson. He is a national treasure, and we need to protect him at all costs.
That was about as over his top as the sparkly boots.
It was. So I'm just going in order here. So real quick, you had Jamie Hayter, Tony Storm. Tony Storm needed to win the match. She did. Solid match. There's some tomfoolery with the people in there, and I guess that what's the Hikura Shida and all that kind of stuff. They had the double turn, but what is the name of the new girls? What the hell's the name of Ruby Soho's and the Outsiders? The hell's their name of their faction? The Outcasts. There you go. Sorry, some T.S. Eliot book. Anyways, so that was a pretty solid match. Let's touch on the House Rules Opens Trio Championship.
Yeah.
Because great match as always. It's got to be. I honestly thought that the Acclaim were going to win that match for a good portion of it. So I think that was really, really good suspension of disbelief. I was on the edge of my seat, but what we need to talk about more than anything, I think Tom, you're about to say it. You want to go ahead and say it, Tom? Yeah.
Holy hell, the Acclaim and their like pre-match like diss tracks that they do are
unrivaled.
The best. I love it.
Raps are unbelievable.
They're
unrivaled. John Cena even went on record as saying, "Yeah, Max Caster did what I did, except he does it good."
Yes, that's exactly. Yeah, yeah. He was on a podcast and he said that.
Yeah,
and I was like, yeah, you're not wrong, dude. Like, I mean, from the first time they got on AEW, I know they caught I can't remember the exact one that they did. I know they caught a little bit of shit for one of them.
Well, they got some shit for Jeff Jarrett talking about his wife and cheating on him and all that other kind of stuff.
No, there was one that they touched on a social issue, and
so you can tell that Max is very liberal.
They were off TV. They were off TV for a while. Because
a couple things about guns, and then I think a couple things about Biden and stuff like that, which I think you're right, it is what it is. I think that he's smart enough now to know that, like, regardless of what your political views are, you should not be divisive as a babyface, right?
Agreed.
So if you can say whatever you want to as a heel, but they're super over. But man, it's just so good. Just say it like,
oh good.
And it's like, how does Malachi get away with playing blackface? Like, that was bad enough, but then the whole, like, I mean,
Buddy being a cuck.
Buddy Matthews looking all ominous when he's getting cucked by a kid named Dominic. Like, I lost my shit. And so did everybody else, for that matter. The entire internet blew up. So, but
that was 100% one of those that you were like,
caught you off guard. Caught you off guard. Yeah. And everybody loves Rhea Ripley. So
I wouldn't have thought they would have gone there, but here we are.
Well, do you think that's the thing? Do you think they just give him free reign? Certainly he has to run that by somebody, right?
So
you think Buddy's like, nah, bro, it's cool. Like,
so when he got in trouble the first time with the social stuff, Tony Khan did say that he has to at least give him like a cliff notes of the topics from now that he is going to cover. Yeah. So like they knew he was going to talk about it. He cleared it with somebody.
I bet he didn't say he was going to say cuck though.
No. I'm not. I guarantee you that as well. But I'm just saying. But like I do remember. That's why I brought up the whole him getting in trouble, because I remember during that they asked Tony, like they're like, "Do you know what he's gonna say?" And they're like, "Yes, he has to like present me a list of topics that he's gonna talk about in it." And then I kind of give him advice on what. And then Cody said the same thing. Cody's like, we like kind of steer him towards like what we want them to say or what they can't say or whatnot.
Yeah, but like I said, solid match, hilarious beginning. Billy Gunn takes the fall, as I think he probably should, doing the job. And then we get on to I think an unexpected banger of the night. I actually was very, very impressed. This is the only match I was overwhelmed with. And maybe it's just because all of her matches have been so short, but this was a very, very solid match. And the first time that Jade actually looked like she was in trouble, that's Jade Cargill versus Ty Valkyrie. Rob, what was your take on this?
You know, you got to think about Taya Valkyrie, who's been in the industry for a really long time. This is John Hennigan's wife, Johnny Nitro, Johnny.
Yeah. Johnny everything.
Whatever.
Johnny Mundo, Johnny Nitro, Johnny Raw, Johnny this, Johnny Impact. Yeah.
What do they call him? John Morrison in WWE. So
yeah.
She is one of the best women's talent ever. The former two-time
underrated
champion, AAA, and former Impact champion. NXT just completely wasted her with this Frankie Monet character. It's a shame that she didn't really get a chance to be herself. And they've taken this Frankie Monet character and they've kind of given it to Tiffany Stratton. More about her later. But Taya is, if you want to establish a star, she is one of the best people to put in that path, because she's going to make anybody look good, because she's that damn good herself. She's a lot like a Bret Hart in a lot of ways. Bret Hart can make anybody look good. Kenny Omega can make anybody look good. John Moxley can make anybody look good. Regal, Danielson, the list goes on and on. Yeah. I put her in that same class of people because she is that impressive. And to put this match on for longer than 7 minutes was great, because it showcased that Jade is as good and improving, and it gives her an opportunity to say, hey, you know, I got in there with one of the best and I came out a winner. But then she got mouthy, then she got cocky, beat one of the best in the world, and then
hold on, wait, Rob, you there? Wait, let me see. We're gonna go boop, boop, boop. I wish she would still do that. That's my favorite gimmick of all time. I'm upset. I know she's more of a badass now. Chris Statlander still my probably my favorite. I don't know. It's tough now with Rhea Ripley, but before the up and comings of Rhea, Chris was absolutely my girl for sure. And I love that she's back. Let's just pray that she stays healthy, because she's just had the absolute worst luck with injuries. And you would think that wouldn't be the case from a stunt woman, you know what I mean? But great way to bring her in, bring her back. Absolute surprise victory. Great little bow on the top. It was a little bit weird because, you know, they did the open challenge thing. Jade still looks strong. Obviously, she fought her hardest match ever and came up top, so she was definitely down. So I'm sure we're going to see them, you know, at least once or twice more. That's going to be a good program for her. And I think that it was really good for Jade. Like you said, it's to show that if you put her with talent, she can put on a very, very solid match. And she's not just a black Wardlow with boobs. I mean, let's be honest. Like that's it, right? You got the TBS champion, you got the TNT champion. Like, they protected Jade, they protected Wardlow. And, you know, I think they're molding them, and I think they're both going to be good, but I still think they're people that you've got to put with excellent talent, like Valkyrie or like Samoa Joe or something like that, to really get something good out of them. They're not quite ready yet for much more than squash matches, other than somebody that can really carry the match.
I mean, they got a lot out of that ladder match with Christian Cage.
Yeah, no, I think both. This was, I think, very much so. This was the new, you know, the Wardlow and Jade's night, as far as like progression, that their character arch.
It was definitely a coming out party for both of them.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Speaking of coming out, we're coming out hitting on all 4 cylinders with this last match, right? We got the 4-way. If Ryan was here, he'd be making a sexual comment, but I don't go down that road. I don't go down at all. Ryan, do you care? Jesus Christ.
You guys talking about 4 guys banging? Is that what you're talking about?
Just banging hard on the floor.
4 guys just getting on it, just doing the thing, just
and Tom's playing Rob's role of just was booing his head and like wishing that he wasn't here, questioning every single life.
So
Honestly,
thankful I don't have to have
hearing
you two assholes to deal with tonight with that.
All I'm hearing about is Big E's commentary whenever you guys start.
Two big men slapping me.
Yeah, that's all I'm hearing in my head. I'm just like, God, I can't get away from that.
Well, none of these men were particularly big in stature. However, all of their attitudes and their gimmicks are Jungle Boy, MJF, Darby Allin, and Sammy Guevara, larger than life characters that are the true pillars of AEW. It was a absolutely fantastic match.
Wonderful.
From start to finish, there are all kinds of I really think that Jungle Boy has really he was the sleeper for, I don't want to say sleeper for a long time. He was the one that really wasn't really catching traction, but here recently I feel like he's caught a little bit more traction. Sammy is just fantastic. Darby is the ultimate underdog, always will be. And I think Darby's promos have improved tremendously. I don't know if it's just because they're giving him more time, but his ability to get on there and feel real and genuine and intense is definitely improving. And then what can you say? You got MJF trying to kill people with a headlock takedown.
Winning a match with a headlock takedown.
Yep. Or takeover. Yeah. Sorry.
You gotta be kidding.
So, Rob, did you get a chance, or Tom, did you get a chance to actually watch that match?
I'm not gonna lie to you, no.
Okay.
I love MJF right now. Like, I think he's definitely one of the best heels in all of wrestling. Sammy Guevara, I'm kind of like indifferent about. I like his talent. I just don't know what he's doing half the time. I don't get the appeal of Jungle Boy. And I'll be honest, like there are some matches of Darby Allin's I cannot watch because I'm like, we are going to watch him kill himself in the ring one of these days.
I know.
I just like some of the spots that he does, like even the highlights. Like, I'm not one to flinch when I'm watching like video or like the matches or whatever. So like during his match, I have found myself more times than not like flinching when he does a spot, and I'm like, dude, is he okay for real?
I agree. The only one that's eclipsed him as of late for me is Vikingo, because that man just absolutely defies.
Well, he hit his head off the mat doing that
triple flip off over the ropes onto the table. Yeah, it just God. And he did it again Wednesday too. So but anyways, going about that, the match was fantastic. I kind of like the dichotomy between, you've got MJF and you've got Darby Allin. You've got MJF as to do the absolute minimum work that we can, or at least that's his mentality. He's a worker, but his mentality and his gimmick is do as little work as you can to get as much profit and pay as you possibly can. You got Darby Allin, and it's like, I'm gonna bite and scrape because I don't care if I die doing the thing that I love. It's a very good dynamic. You've got the match started with congratulations are in order because Sammy and his beautiful bride are expecting a little Guevara. So I thought that was a cool way to do it. I almost feel like they're pushing back a little bit more to maybe make Sammy a face again. I don't know if that's out of necessity. I don't know that it feels. Rob, do you feel like that's pushed? Like they're trying to do that?
That's been the whole point of this AEW All Access show, is to showcase who have been some of the most heated and hated heels in the company as normal everyday people. Because your two biggest stories on the AEW All Access show is Adam Cole's return to the ring and Britt, and Ty Mello and Sammy Guevara, and them trying to find their way in the company now that they have somewhat pivoted away from the Jericho Appreciation Society. So I think it's great that Sammy is slowly working his way back into the babyface. I think he did some of his best work when he was a babyface, when he was holding that TNT championship the first time. And then when he got the title the second time and they kind of pushed him into more of a heel role, and him and Tanara just making out on TV, no one cared. But
I think Sammy need to be a heel just for his this is gonna sound so silly. He needed to be a heel just to heel because he's another one that it just always seems to be taking the bumps. Especially when he was with the original the
Inner Circle.
Inner Circle.
Yeah, Inner Circle. He was always the bump taker.
Yeah.
And he does some pretty crazy stuff too. I mean, hark back and think about the first Stadium Stampede. With taking that Kenny giving him the one-winged angel from the top of the frickin' whatever the hell that was onto like, in the stadium thing or whatever. That was scary.
But damn, he's a likable guy when he's a likable guy.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's a true star. He's probably the sleeper star in AEW. I mean, everybody talks about MJF, but I feel like Guevara has just as much upside to him, and just as much mileage, that you can get out of him as anybody else in that. More so than Jungle Boy or Darby Allin, I would say.
I don't get Jungle Boy at all, so.
I didn't, but I'm liking him more. I didn't like that they put the whole Luchasaurus thing back and forth with him and Cage, and I did not like that. I love them as a tag team. I thought that was great. Tony Khan obviously loves him because he's paying ridiculous amounts of money for that theme song.
Yeah.
And I think that he is a little bit more real now. But I think he's going to have to get a little bit more gritty, and he's going to have to get a little bit more away from that gimmick for him to really be taken seriously, in my opinion.
I would agree.
So, Rob, what else we got?
The last little thing is NXT Battleground. A lot of great matches, but the two that stand out the most are probably going to be the women's match and the NXT title. The women's match was a tournament. Indy Hartwell is injured, and she had to not only relinquish the NXT Women's Championship, but she was also drafted to Raw to be back with Johnny Gargano, Dexter Lumis, and Candice. So the Way is back. They're just waiting for everybody to be healthy to kind of push them on TV again. So Indy comes out and announces an 8-woman tournament. The finals of that tournament were at Battleground. You had Tiffany Stratton versus Lyra Valkyria, the former Aoife Valkyrie of NXT UK, a mainstay in that company, someone who is really, really coming into her own on US soil. Big fan of Lyra, Aoife, whatever we call her, the Lyra. Big fan of Lyra. And big fan of Tiffany Stratton. I was talking earlier about how they took Taya Valkyrie, her gimmick as Frankie Monet, and they kind of gave it to Tiffany, the rich, entitled, spoiled daddy's girl who has all of the money and all of the things. And well, anyway, Tiffany Stratton wins this match with a best moonsault ever, a nod to Christopher Daniels. I think they call it the cutest moonsault ever, or the greatest, or the sparkliest, or something. I don't really know, but it is a triple plancha moonsault, and she's getting better at hitting that move. The first couple times it wasn't so good, but as she's getting better in the ring, she's less green, she's working. Sean and Hunter obviously trusted them enough to put this belt on her. Lyra gave her a great match. Lyra has been a veteran for a long time, and it's good to see that you're trusting these young talents with titles, especially her and Carmelo Hayes after a great match with Braun Breaker as well. Guys, anybody got anything to say about NXT and the landscape? Tommy, please.
The match with honestly, neither of those two matches were my top match of the night. What the hell is his name? I'm drawing a blank now. Him and Keith Lee used to go back and forth all the time when they were in NXT.
Dragunov and Dijak.
Dijak. That was a phenomenal match.
Great match.
I believe, actually, again, I'm referencing Meltzer. I know not a lot of people like him. I just use it as just a reference point, but that was, I think, like the highest rated match on the card by a long shot. I believe it was like a 4.5-star match, and like the next closest one was I think the men's title match at 3.5 stars. But I like that like I'm a big fan of like the storytelling throughout a match, and like that match honestly what it reminded me of was Gargano and Andrade at one of the takeovers a couple years ago. Like that was the same kind of like David and Goliath type back and forth that it reminded me of. I love that match. That was my favorite one on the whole card.
And Dragunov is a special talent. That guy is special.
I'm shocked he hasn't been called up yet and like put with Imperium or something.
Never know.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, because I was just thinking, like, because if they're gonna do war games, on the main roster like they tried doing last year, they're gonna need another 4-person group, because right now they have they're not gonna be able to use Judgment Day because Rhea's in it, unless they're gonna allow Rhea to fight the boys. But like
well, there's talk that JD McDonough is going to join the Judgment Day.
Okay.
So that would be a huge addition, because the former Jordan Devlin and the former NXT Heritage Cup champion Jordan Devlin, JD McDonough, they have done interviews with him, and Finn Balor's kind of like lurking in the background, kind of leering down on him, like because Finn Balor is the one that trained JD McDonough. So they're from Cork County. They're both from that same county island. So I think it'd be a fine addition. That way you could potentially have Imperium and Judgment Day in a war game setting, even though they're on different brands. It's possible, you know.
I'm just saying, I think for war games, throw the brand thing out there, but like if you want to put like, you know, 3 groups in there or whatever, if they decide to get their shit together, you could do the Bloodline, Imperium, and Judgment Day. Like I would watch that in a war game. I would watch that in a war game match.
Yeah,
I agree. I'm actually excited for the prospect of 3 heel factions going against each other, because it's unprecedented. It doesn't happen. I mean,
it isn't, and that's the best situation to turn at least one of them face too.
Exactly.
Guys, though, I had a complete brain fart, and you guys didn't correct me on this. I don't know if you recognize it or remember it or not. We didn't talk about Tom's absolute favorite match, because it's got his 2 favorite guys in it.
I was ignoring it.
Double or Nothing. Tom thought that he was going to get away without us talking about the exploding Jordan death match super kick from hell.
You know, I was really hoping we were going to get away from that one too.
The anarchy in the arena part 2. I thought it was a good match. I love all these anarchy in the arenas. I think, you know, this one being not, you know, pre-filmed and more of a and it's more of a live thing as opposed to the you know, the pre-taped or whatever. I think that lends itself to have a little bit more difficulty, because there's like 20 different things going on. So, you know, you're going back and forth, and sometimes you'll catch something that they switch to the camera after it already happened. You know, that was a little bit of a fumble there. And then there were some gimmicks, like obviously, Tom, you were saying that, you know, the exploding thing. But overall,
like, what does it do? What does that do?
It explodes, Tom. It explodes.
Stupid.
I agree.
It's not believable.
I agree, but we have to also remember that all of wrestling is a spectacle, and the same reason why you hit somebody over the head with an aluminum trash can is because it looks like it hurts, not because it does hurt. It's the same reason that they hit people with those fucking fluorescent bulbs. You wouldn't even feel that. But listen, you know,
but the fact that like the guy who had to sell it looked uncomfortable selling it.
Yeah,
Moxley did not want to sell that. Like, I don't care. Like, he did. Like, he's like,
honestly, I would be scared to take it, because, like, I mean, what, it blinds you, you know, if you open your eyes or anything else.
Like, if you watch like, I've done it a couple times. If you slow mo the video down, like I've screen grabbed it in slow mode. Like, Moxley is so pissed off that he has to take that spot. Like, he did not want to do it.
Moxley always looks pissed off, though. It's kind of his gimmick.
This was different.
I will say,
I just want to bleed.
I will say that one of the most brutal images that I have seen in a long time in wrestling was them slamming his heel, Nick, I believe it was, Nick's naked heel after that shoe was off onto those thumbtacks.
Good.
And just seeing and him having
he deserved
to walk around with no less than like 50 thumbtacks in his foot for the rest of the day.
I hope he thinks about the next time he tries that crap in a match. Like, and he thinks about, like, if he does that again, the punishment needs to be more thumbtacks in his foot till he stops doing that crap.
No, but wait, I don't think it was this. I'm trying to think back now. I don't think it was the same guy.
I don't care.
I think it was Matt got the heel, and you're just saying, like, as a group,
that's what you get.
Like, more about that.
You get punished. You get punished for doing stupid stuff.
I will say the beginning of the match was probably better than the end.
Yes.
Just because watching them brawl to Wild Thing, the fact that they keep playing the music, I love that. Yeah. I just love it. I don't know why. Maybe it's because there's not ever music in, like, the entrance music, and it's like more like a music video, or it feels like a movie, whatever reason. I love it. It's only happened like one other time, I think, and it was in Anarchy in the Arena, when they did it for a long period of time. And I just love the fact that they had the band playing. And I love the fact that the only thing that got them to stop is because who was it? God, which one beat the shit out of the singer or whatever. I love that, like, or I think it was the Young Bucks when they super kicked the singer, and then they stopped the song because of that, right? But I love that fact. I love the Castagnoli with the freaking pile driver in the back of the Dodge Ram, I think it was, whatever the pickup truck was.
I'm not gonna lie, that was like pinpoint precision, because as he picked him up, I was like, they're both going through that back window.
Yeah, it was scary.
I was like, he doesn't have enough room, and if you watch it, he jumps forward.
Yeah,
into the, and I'm just like Castagnoli's ring awareness always blows my mind. Yeah. Because, like, you're watching him do certain things, and I'm like, you don't have enough room to do that, and he just, like, realizes he doesn't, and moves himself, like, mid move to, like, be able to pull it off. And like I said, if you watch that pile driver, like, he jumped forward like a couple inches and barely missed the back of that bed of the truck. And I was like, you know what, good on you, bud. And the fact that he turned him and did it diagonally, so he had more room in the truck to do it. I'm like, those are the kinds of things that, like, I pop for when I see.
He is a super underrated wrestler. Always has been. I love that he's in the Blackpool Combat Club with Danielson and with Moxley, and with Yuta for that matter. I love the fact that they have legitimate three killers, three of the best wrestlers on the planet right now, all in the same group. That is a super group. Yeah. Like, that is a true on super group, but it's not talked about, I think, enough. And I think the fact that they put Yuta with them really, really gives Yuta some much needed, like, boost. And, like, they've really been putting him over. And Yuta, whereas this time last year, probably this time last year or so, he was a punk. He was a worker. He was a jobber. He was nothing. And then he had that match with Moxley, and that literally made him like Stone Cold got made at frickin' Mania or SummerSlam or whatever it was with Bret Hart and the sharpshooter. Like, that absolutely made him, and he's a killer now. He's believable. He took the screwdriver to fucking Paige's face. I just didn't. I liked the match. The boot was a little silly, and I didn't like the finish. That after all the shit that they went through, and all it took was to Takeshita shit. Rob, say it for me. There you go.
Konosuke Takeshita.
Yeah, Takeshita. So all it took was him coming in, and then all of a sudden they just win, and Yuta, beats Omega. Like, I feel like that, and then they didn't even act like he was part of the club. Like, they didn't all raise their hands together. Like, you thought, like, oh shit, he's in the Blackpool Combat Club. That's the fucking thing. Like, no, it's not the thing. He's still over there by himself, and they're all raising their hands independently.
Was anybody hoping that it was going to be Ospreay?
No.
Ospreay. I knew it was going to be Ospreay because Kenny's going to fight Ospreay in Forbidden Door. Right.
That's why I was hoping. That's why I was hoping that it was Ospreay that cost Kenny the match.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, you're right. No, that would have been a good
like
shout.
as soon as I saw the person do the hit the finish, I was like, please let this be Ospreay. Like,
that's what they should have done.
I was like, for once in your life, like, you nailed the storyline. And then the guy pulled off his mask, and I literally was like, who the hell is that?
Yeah, it was. Well, I mean, I knew he was because he's been in there before, and you know,
He's Don Callis's. He's Don Callis's new handpicked guy.
new protege.
Yeah. No. I knew that. Like I knew that, but you know what I'm saying? Like when the reveal just didn't have like the same like gusto that I felt like.
No, it was an absolute. I mean, it wasn't quite as bad as the exploding death match ring with Eddie Kingston and Moxley, but it definitely was a lackluster finish to a pretty darn solid match. It was one of those matches that started super strong and it got a little crazy and then it just ended with a fizzle for me. But a good match. I enjoyed it. I always love these anarchy in the arenas and the stadium stampedes and all this other shit. I love those. I just think that of all of them, this is probably my least favorite. So,
Justin Metz, he loves the gimmick match.
I love a good gimmick match. I love a new gimmick match because it's like what under the sun hasn't been done. No, when you can find something that hasn't been done, you know.
I am with you. I like these Anarchy in the Arena matches, but as soon as I saw the boot, like I couldn't stop yelling. I was like, "You've got to be kidding me right now!" Like I was like,
Tom's throwing his CM Punk doll at the TV.
Oh my god! Like, you guys know how much I don't like those two. Like I have said from the start. Like I remember messaging in the group chat because I'm not as huge. Like I said, I don't know as much about the indies as you guys do. I remember asking in the group chat. I'm like, okay, Kenny Omega. I was like, what is the deal with these two tassel wearers? Like,
they sold a lot of t-shirts, man. They sold a lot of t-shirts.
Great. Like
t-shirts. Hot topic.
Real quick before we go, since we do have the Mr. Sroka on the mic, what do you think about Collision in June 17th with the Christopher Matthews Punk, which by the way, that's what the CM stands for.
Chicago.
I don't understand why they announced it the way they did.
Yeah, like it's weird. You thought that they were going to do the worst kept secret thing again, but then they did.
They just posted a stupid graphic and they're like, CM Punk's coming to Collision. It's like, what are you doing?
You know why? Because I think that he legitimately wasn't going to be there, and like that's why they pulled all this stuff. They weren't going to come to Chicago. It was all up in the air, and then all of a sudden, I think they finally got the Ace Steel, whatever the guy's his buddy's name is. They got that all taken care of, and he's finally came about that, or he's kind of came to whatever conclusion, like, okay, I'm going to be here or whatever, but let's see how long this lasts. That's Rob. Do we want to do an over and under on how long until CM Punk is no longer wrestling yet again after June 17th?
3 months.
3 days. Oh, okay. 3 months. Okay.
3 months. He'll make it to the All In. Man, he'll be done after that.
And he'll tag with FTR.
Yeah. Oh my God, please. And have him kick those castle wearing kick their heads off with an exploding boot.
He'll win the trios title from the House of Black, and then he'll get into a fight and then be off screen again, and they'll have to relinquish the titles.
No, what I want is FTR to take the exploding boot off of those two and then hit them in the face with their own boot as it explodes. That's how that match finishes.
Well, we will definitely talk more about AEW Collision as it approaches.
While Punk's doing thumbtacks in the other one's foot for having the boot again.
And we are throwing ice cream at him.
Yeah.
We are just over 2 weeks away from the beginning, or just under 2 weeks away from the premiere of AEW Collision Saturday, June 16th, live from the United Center in Chicago, Tommy's hometown. We hope you get to go and give us a report and come back for the 5th time. On it's like Saturday Night Live. It's like Saturday Night Live. When you come on for your 5th time, we're gonna get you a 5-timers jacket, but it's gonna be a robe. And instead of it being like a nice jacket, I'm gonna go to a Goodwill and just send it to you and write like
a flannel robe where we just put the glue on there and then we throw the glitter on it.
I was just gonna write a 5 on it with a Sharpie marker and send it to him.
Just do a paint marker.
Yeah,
paint marker.
Exactly.
I told you guys, that's why I told you guys in the group chat. I'm like Charlotte Flair or Brock Lesnar. When you need a placeholder until you can figure out what to do with the title, you guys just call me.
Well, you just keep getting a new one. It's like what's his face we had on earlier a couple episodes, a while back or whatever. He said it's preposterous the amount of times that Tom Sroka has been on Better Than Broadway. It's preposterous.
Exactly.
That was Leo.
That was Leo. Okay, yeah, it was Leo. Yeah.
Oh my God.
What's up, Leo?
Guys, that's our show for the night. We thank you all for joining us. Tom, thank you again for Indiana Jonesing us with your presence as always.
Sroka.
Indiana Sroka. For
Crocodile Shrokadee, or Shrokadile Dundee. That's not a snatch. This is a snatch.
Exactly.
Don't forget to check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts. We're on Amazon. We're all over the interwebs. We are on Instagram at Better Than Broadway. And if you want to ask us questions, DM us. We'll do some stuff for you. We got our buddy Nick who wants us to talk about Monday Night Raw here soon.
Let's clarify that. No. You want to DM us and we'll do some stuff for you? Let's not leave it like that, okay? That's way too open.
I'm not putting the sunglasses on again and being Ryan again. No, we're doing this. The show's over. Goodbye. And happy wrestling, everybody. We'll see you guys.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Cue the music.
Goodbye. You make me sick. You make me so mad.
Get your boots on.
God. We're done.